welcome to part 5 of the Warrior Within Docuseries. I'm your host, Jamie Bennett. This is pre-recorded. Viewer discretion is advised. I wanted to let you all know that it's pre-recorded in case, when you see this live, you're making comments. I don't want you all to think that we're ignoring you. We will go back and read the comments, and we appreciate you all being here. My guest today is going to share with you all their life journey. I met this person, amazing, incredible human being, through Cosmos Creative Television, which used to be Tardon Media Network, and I consider this wonderful human to be one of my friends. They're also a fellow host. They have several shows on Cosmos Creative Television, but they're so much more than a show host. They have done so many things in life. They've had an incredible journey, and they're going to come on here and talk about their journey, and I really appreciate them being here. So without further ado, my friend, fellow host, Rory Penland. Hello.
And I am a host, yes. So thank you for having me on. Thanks for agreeing to interview me. That's great. Wonderful.
Well, I appreciate you being here.
Okay, in the beginning, hi.
Hello.
That's how I feel. I feel like okay, when I started in Miami. That is true. I actually was born and raised in Miami, near the Kendall area, over by Bird Road. And even though I spent most of my time with my father there, that wasn't really the years that shaped me into what I am today. I just had a kind of a normal childhood upbringing. And then at age 15, we moved up to a place called Lake City, Florida. And that's where I spent my formative years. And I started my last year of junior high school there, which was pretty uneventful. I was in the band, and I was in percussion, but there was a lot of people in percussion. So I ended up playing, like woodblock and cowbell, triangle. And to this day, it amuses me to know that people are making, like maybe 4, 5, 6 digit figures, playing in orchestras, playing woodblock and cowbell and triangle.
Wow.
So when I got into high school, I decided to try a drama class. And it was strictly to meet girls. That was the reason. That was the reason that I took that class. And I've always been able to do voices. This was something that I've always been able to do, and I've always loved movies and and television shows. So I just took off from there. I won the sophomore drama award that year. Started doing plays. My first play was a show. It was a ripoff of Grease called Rock and Roll, and I played a nerd character in it. And I had shtick that I created for my character that people just really got into. I got a huge applause at the end of every show. And at the end of that first night, when we got the applause, I was like, this is it. This is what I got to do. I got to perform. I'm liking this very much. So that's how it all got started as far as the acting. I was already in, I had found a group of people because I was a transplant, remember. I went from South Florida up to really South Georgia, because Lake City is right under the Georgia border.
Yeah.
Right there where I-75 crosses I-10. And so it's a very Southern style community. So I had to get used to that. I had to fit in there. So I found a group of guys and gals in the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. We had JROTC in school. And that was kind of the first thing that I kind of latched onto to see where it would go. And I spent the full 4 years in there. And I got into the drama. And again, by the time I got out of high school, drama was what I wanted to do all over the place. So I went into junior college there in Lake City. It was called Lake City Community College at the time. Now it's called Gateway College. And had a wonderful director there, Paul Ferguson. I'd also met another wonderful director in the area who had worked with Paul. His name was Bob Gerard. And they really shaped me into a really fully functional character actor. I was creating characters and backgrounds for those characters so that I could be the character on stage. And again, improvise if I had to. If somebody lost a line or something, I'd be able to go in character, and pull them out of that deep chasm, without saying your line is. So, and I love working with ensembles. I learned I could sing in those years. Actually, it was that first show, rock and roll. I learned I could sing. I didn't even know. I had no idea, and been singing ever since. And I did many, many shows in Lake City, in the community theater and in the junior college theater. And I, I went down to South Florida, University of South Florida in Tampa. And in Tampa, my life changed again when I went to a comedy club and I saw live stand-up comedy. And this was back in 87, 88, early 88. So this was when the comedy wave had just started with all the Showtime and HBO specials. So there was like a comedy club just about on every corner, in town. We had several. So I started doing open mic night. I asked the guy who was the MC, I said, hey, if you ever want a night off, I do a lot of public speaking stuff. I could be an MC. He's like, really? And I actually got to be the MC at that club as a comedy corner.
Well, that's neat.
And that helped out a lot. Yeah. I mean, that gave me a lot of time to get up on stage and try the voices, do different voices. And I specialize in cartoon voices, Doc. That kind of thing. And Kermit the Frog, that kind of stuff,
That's awesome.
So I had a good year there working up my material, my routine to go out on the road as a stand-up comic. I dropped out of college, much to everybody's chagrin. And my parents were not happy. My director, Paul Ferguson, was not happy. He had set me up with his mentor in University of South Florida. It didn't go over well, but I was like, I can make a living doing this. This is fun, and I can make a living doing it. So that was my decision at the time. It was one of the worst decisions I ever made. I should have stuck with college for another year, got my degree. I should have realized that the comedy thing wasn't going to last forever. But
you never know. Like in those moments, you have to make whatever decision, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. Like.
As a 60-year-old trying to secure decent wages and a job today, post-pandemic, I can honestly say, again, it's the worst decision I ever made to drop out of college. Yeah. I could have continued working on my comedy routine, finished my degree, and then had that BA to fall back on if I just stayed, another year.
Yeah.
I still could have gone out on the road as a comic.
Yeah.
I didn't, when you're that age, you don't think about those things. You don't think about
Not usually. Like when I went to the university, I was told that music business was the way to go. And they cut the music business program, and then I ended up with a communications degree, and I haven't been able to secure work with a communications degree. It is a little bit easier in Georgia where I'm located because there is all sorts of music around here and different creative aspects, but I haven't been able to get a job with my degree. Like I've told people, if I had it to do over, I would probably not have gotten the degree that I got.
See, now that kind of makes me feel better because I was getting a communication degree.
Okay, so there you go.
speech communication, yeah. So yeah, I have a Associate of Arts degree, which is general, and that helped me to get, again, communication working, audiovisual in colleges and junior colleges throughout But yeah, and in China, if I'd had that communication degree, if I had just had that BA, I could have legally taught in China
Oh,
because
wow.
I would have had the BA degree. They just required to have a BA degree. And then I had a TEFL degree, teaching English as a foreign language, which I got while I was over there.
Oh, wow.
I moved to China in 2004 to be with my fiance at the time, who became my wife in 2004. And uh, yeah, I mean, after that, it was, I mean, I worked in a Chinese art sweat house, working cleanup art for
Oh,
like Disney and different others. They would farm out to these cheap studios, to do the art
wow.
for a lot of their stuff. And China was one of the cheapest places in town. So I worked on Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go for Disney Saturday morning fare, which was a great show. And actually got to meet, because of that, I got to meet the guys that created the show. I took a trip to LA on the way home to Florida one year. And they said, "Yeah, come on out and see the studio. Come on and come to the office. We'd like to talk to you." And that was really neat. I met Ciro Neely, who is the producer on the show, and I met some of the writers, and it was nice. We also worked on Biker Mice from Mars for Canada, and there was some other stuff. Brace Face, the guy that was the animated director that I worked under, he had worked on Brace Face and some other Canadian shows, George Shrink.
Oh,
So
wow.
he had done a lot of stuff before I got in there, and I was only there for like 9 months. And then I started teaching English, even though I had no skill at all. They needed a foreign face, in order for parents, because I taught children. In order
Yeah.
for parents, to put that money down for their kids, they needed to have a foreign teacher. And I'm like, well, I'm not, I don't have any experience teaching. So the first school was like, well, why don't you come in and do what we call English Corner? And they said, you'll just talk about an English topic with our students. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And I had a little mini projector, that I could run computer stuff off of on the wall. And I knew audiovisual, from when I was working here in the Orlando area. I did audiovisual work at oh my goodness, Valencia Community College, and so I just set up a nice little PowerPoint presentation on food, or on this traveling, whatever the topic was, and I would make a PowerPoint presentation. We'd talk about it, and I'd have pictures, and we'd have a good time, and
Wow.
that led to me, to a very lucrative 15 years, 14 years teaching
Wow.
the kids in China. Oh my gosh, so much money. It was, I mean, I was making 3 times what I'm making here.
That's wonderful.
So
Like,
for the first couple of months, I decided to get the teaching English as a foreign language degree, so that I would at least seem like I was trained. But
that,
yeah, I mean,
that's
I
great.
never really had a real work visa there. I'm admitting something here that I did illegally over there. And
No.
I could have very well gotten thrown out, if I'd have gotten caught. And a lot of them did. I mean, the schools didn't want to pony up the money to get the actual work degrees. They were too expensive, and it took too long to get them.
Yeah.
They would just assume that, hey, if they got caught, they'd pay the fine, they'd get rid of the teacher and get a new teacher.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Oh,
that
no.
teacher would get thrown out of the country, and they just find somebody else.
Oh, no.
So that was the big fear that I always worked under when I was there.
Oh, that would be stressful.
Bopping around from school to school. I even had my own school for a while, and I was able to get away with that because my wife had a special license. Consultancy, it was called a consultancy license.
Oh,
So we
okay.
had that consultancy license up on the wall, with my wife's name on it, and the police would come in to check us, and they go, "Oh, okay, all right, consultancy, okay, you can do that, all right." And they would walk out, and I got away with it for a long time with that.
Oh, goodness. That's interesting. Yeah, my cousin taught English in Korea for
Yeah.
quite a while. So Like,
It's easier there. I don't think they
it's
threaten to throw you out of the country if you're teaching without a BA degree.
yeah, that would be a bit stressful.
Well, and that's the thing is they put the rule down if you don't have a BA degree, you shouldn't be teaching, basically. And I didn't have
Yeah.
a BA degree. So if I got caught, that's against the law. It's illegal. And anything you do against the law in China as an expat living there, even if you have a spouse, it's illegal. So you're going to get thrown out.
Oh goodness.
And yeah, I almost got thrown out one time for overstaying. I overstayed on a visa. I got really sick the day I was going to go in to do my visa. And I, like an idiot, I waited to the last day, waited the last minute. And yeah, they were going to throw me out of the country. But luckily, my wife went in and smoothed things out with the people. They gave them face. Probably gave them a little something under the table.
She worked her magic.
They took the red flag off. She had a friend actually in the visa office.
Oh wow.
And saved me from. I had to go over the border. I remember at Christmas time, so all the visa offices were closed that week. I had to stay in Hong Kong for 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks, like 10 days. And there's this little horrifying hotel, motel. And it's right there in the malls section where there's all the malls and shopping and everything. And Chungking Manor, I think is the name of it. But it's just like you walk in and you just go, oh man, keep your hand on your wallet. This place is scary.
Oh, no.
And they have these little dinky tiny rooms, plywood beds with foam, just a piece of foam over it.
Oh gosh.
Put a wall unit, AC. And that's where I had to live for 10 days, because that's all I could afford.
Oh gosh.
If I'd have stayed at Holiday Inn next door, it would have been like 2,000 Hong Kong a night.
Oh wow, yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah, that's what we decided I should do. And I had to get a 30-day visa to come back in, and then I applied for another year visa. And here's the real kicker on that was that Obama had made such good relations with China that they had made a 10-year visa for expats. So you only had to go in once every 10 years to change your visa.
Oh wow.
Instead of every 3 months for visitors and every year for people that stay there with their spouse. So I had a chance to get one of those visas, and I blew it by overstaying.
Oh no.
The best I could get after that was a 2-year visa.
Oh goodness. Oh
But
man.
yeah, I was there for 15 years.
Wow.
And I would go to there's reverse Chinatowns. There's expat towns in China, in various places in the city. There were 2 in Shenzhen where I lived, which was right next to Hong Kong. One was called Coco Park, and the other one, which was a shopping district, and the other one was called Shekou. And that was on the water. It was where you actually go over to Macau from China. So it was kind of like a little harbor town. And they had a lot of places, with pizza and steak and beer and, and this is where we'd all go and congregate, all of us teachers.
Of course.
And eat and have burgers and get smashed. And
there you go.
that was our distance. That was our weekend. So I began to miss doing performance. At the time that I left for China, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to miss this. This is living out of a suitcase. This life has been really rough. It's been, peaks and valleys. Some months were great. Some months were just, oh my God, where's my next meal coming from? But luckily, I'm a hard worker. I had like 3 different day jobs. I worked for Valencia Community College. I did work for Skull Kingdom as an actor and for Arabian Nights Dinner Theater and some other dinner theater places here in Orlando area. Awesome. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to miss it. And I didn't for the longest time. And then about at the 10-year mark, I was like, you know what? I really want to perform again.
Yeah.
I got a captive audience in a class of kids, but, I really want a real audience again. So I found open mic nights. they were doing comedy nights at different clubs there in Shako and some other places around Shenzhen. And I was able to start doing comedy. And I started with the voices, and I found they don't hear those voices in the movies that they watch here.
No. Yeah.
So they hear a version of Bugs Bunny, and it sounds like, but they don't hear it in English,
Yeah.
So I wasn't getting quite the response, with the voices that I used to. So I was watching a British comedian. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was brilliant. And he did something new and innovative every time he went up on stage. He did something different. And I said, that's what I got to shoot for. That's what I got to do, because all these other guys are just doing the same shtick over and over and over and over again, And if you go to the same clubs, you're hearing the same shtick over and over and over again. So I want to do something. So I started. A big influence in my life was Jonathan Winters, and Peter Sellers too. Two guys who are known for doing characters. And I was a good character actor when I was performing in Lake City and in theater. So I started creating characters to go up on stage and improvise with the crowd. The funnest of which was a 94-year-old man that I created named Orville Plick. And I would go up on stage and I would rail about, how comics don't do jokes anymore. And then I would tell a joke. And it was easy.
And I had this voice I would do, sounded something like this. Comics don't tell jokes anymore.
That's great.
And the other comics were roaring. And I went in and did Dr. Piranha, which was, I did a lot here in Orlando and Fringe Festival and all before I went to China. So I did Dr. Piranha, which was, they just didn't know what to expect. And one time I went up with Santa Claus, which was a big hit with the guy that runs the comedy show. He really thought that was the best. And I was just like, man, the first thing I said out of my mouth when I got up on stage was, man, am I stressed. And it went downhill from there. Talking about how I had to have a diverse reindeer team now. And I work up a sheet. I'd usually take a clipboard up with me and I'd have bullet points. I would work up some shit that would trigger me to do a bit of material, And then there's my Southern character, Frog. I did him there as a Southern boy living in China with his Chinese wife. And it went over very well. I was only given, like 6-7 minutes a night, but it went over. Whoa, my battery's dying already. Wow.
Oh.
So I had a lot of battery in this phone before I started. You can just edit that part out. So I would go up and I would do different characters, and they didn't know what to expect. It was just kind of like people would show up just to see what I was going to do next. And again, the guy that ran the main open mic nights that I would go to, there were 2 clubs that I would go to with his show. He just loved it. He just, the fact that I didn't do the same thing over and over and over again, and that you didn't know what I was going to do next. And I got a nice little tribute show at the end when I told them I was leaving town. I was going to go back to America. They just gave me a nice send off, and it was really nice. And that's where the Judge Stern was also created.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I decided to critique the other comics because sometimes we would get new guys that didn't know how to do comedy. And they would go up on stage and they would be terrible. So I created Judge Stern so I could bust on the other guys that I knew that did comedy every week. And the new guys who would come in, oh, yes, by all means, start your comedy routine with, I don't do this,
That's great.
That became a favorite. So, and Bruce Lowe was born there and actually went to Hong Kong and did Bruce Lowe and got a really good response. So there it is. Like water.
Yeah. Like you have your Man of 1,000 Voices on TikTok, I believe. Like, I believe I follow you on there.
Yeah. I try to do a different voice every couple of days. I've been really bad about not. I did a whole week's worth that I had taped like at once. I'm wearing the same shirt. You can tell because I'm wearing the same shirt in all the videos. And I did that like last week, and then I didn't do. There's like been 3 or 4 days I didn't do anything this week. I'm so bad. Come on, get to work. They want those voices. And at first, I was getting a lot of ribbing from people that didn't know. They just thought I was some schmo that thought I could do voices and was not that good. Because I realized that some of the impressions are not perfect. You know, it's more quantity than quality. I'll be the first to admit it. But as time went on, I think they realized, my God, this guy can do a lot of voices. He can really do a lot of voices. They may not be perfect, but he can do a lot of voices.
Yeah.
Because some of them, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think I'm very good at Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, I don't go, ow, ow, like other people. And a lot of people really think my Clint Eastwood is good. So, when they see those, then they're impressed.
So, I'm really good. I'm liking what's going on down there with the TikTok. I almost have 10,000 likes.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
I make it a point to always give hearts and likes and good comments to all the other people who impersonate on the internet, because it's not an easy thing to do, and you get busted on a lot by people. And I've seen some impersonators who are like, you know what, I don't even think I'm going to do this anymore, because they can't handle the fact that people want to bust on them and ruin their day,
Yeah.
And that's a terrible thing to do. But
Yeah.
I've dealt with hecklers and trolls before, so I'm well aware of how they play their game. So
yeah, I had to deal with it in the radio industry. Being an on-air personality, I had to deal with it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
People would make prank calls all the time. I'm like, okay, don't you think you have something better to do than prank call me?
Well, when I was doing the original It's Casual, and this is when I was working at the Comedy Corner in 89, 90, the other show hosts would call up and do voices and would bust on me and bust on my guests.
Oh, no.
And, at first, it used to upset me because it was just people, just yelling out stupid stuff on the phones. But then I started to improvise with it. And I actually got some respect from the other show hosts because I actually rolled with it, whereas others would just freak out and hang up the phone,
Yeah.
Well,
I think
that also is probably early influence on my, on liking to do improv stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to do improv in college, and I always liked doing improv. We had a lot of fun with it in the drama club. And that's what we would do, is we'd do improv like once a week. And it's a lot of fun. Like, it really is. I miss doing improv.
Yeah, again, you work with an ensemble, and if the other people are really good at what they do, even if you're not the fastest thinker, up on stage, which I'm not, you can create some magic. You can still create some fun, magical, stuff for the audiences. And by the way, this is my decapitated gnome. Diane Marie Call sent this to me as a gift, along with a decapitated polar bear. And I drink out of their hands, and it gives me such joy.
Well, if it makes you happy, that's what matters.
I use this as general howitzer all the time on the big monster reefing room.
Georgia, we love our gnomes here. Like, big gnome country.
So luckily, I got back into comedy kind of on a small scale in my latter years in China. And eventually my wife would listen to some of my daughter's friends' parents. She was going to one of the greatest schools for music and performance in China. Their choir was actually invited to the Olympic ceremony in 2008 in China. So she was in a really, really good school. And one of the parents there of one of the other kids said, if you take your daughter and she gets her high school diploma in America, she can come back to China and go to any college she wants.
Oh, wow.
So my wife was like, you don't want to go back to America for a few years? I was like, what? Are you kidding? Is this a trap?
This is a trick question.
And she said no. One of the other parents, a couple of the other parents, were talking to me, and they're saying, you can go if she gets her degree in high school. There, she can come back to China, go to any college she wants. Now, I wish that I'd listened to my inner self and said, you know what, you're happy here, things are going pretty well here. Why mess that up?
Yeah.
Because we came back. America is a very different place than when I left it. It's very divided. It's very expensive. It was expensive when I left, but even more so now.
Yeah.
I don't know how people can make a living. When they're just everybody's got their hand out, and wherever you go, wherever you turn, and it's like they always want a lot.
Yeah.
I took my car in for service for 50,000 miles service, and I had to get new tires on it. Granted, but it was $1,500.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. That's a whole month's worth of pay.
Yeah.
For schlepping pizzas. So including tips. So my daughter would have been happier if she had stayed in China with her friends at that wonderful school she was at. They found out that she had an American passport and a Chinese ID card. They said, you got to give one up.
No.
Which is that's a big thing. So
Yeah.
she decided to give up the Chinese ID card, and we ended up cutting it up. But it's going to be very tough for her to get back in, as a citizen of China, if that's what she wants in life.
Yeah.
She'll have to cut up her passport. She'll have to go through all the motions and it's not going to be easy.
No.
So hindsight, and again, the pandemic was part of the problem. And again, the pandemic has made China a very different place now, from what my wife tells me.
Yeah.
It's very difficult there. A lot of people are struggling. That they keep having outbreaks. People keep stealing the vaccines, and and replacing them with fakes. Old people are ending up in the hospital for the rest of their lives. It's a rough place now. So it's just like, wow. No matter where I go,
Yeah.
it's not going to be easy. But the one great thing that came from coming here was meeting Renee Jaworski and becoming part of this wonderful universe that's been created. As far as we're not making any money,
but we're having fun.
But we're having fun. We're doing what we want to do. I'm not getting any younger. I want to leave something behind, so that people will know that I was on this rock, and this has helped me to kind of do that in a way. I back in the late 80s, early 90s, I was doing It's Casual, and I was trying to do Big Monster Briefing Room. That didn't happen. And It's Casual, the way it was, where it was, and the way it was done, we pretty much used up all of our creative talent at that point.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they didn't do a good job of archiving it.
Man.
I have some of it, and some of the best of it. And there are some pieces on the internet, on YouTube, that people, thanks to, there's a girl named Sandra Prill that we talk about a lot. She was a girl that came on and would sing on the shows. And the thing was, she was not a good singer, but her mom, pushed her to be a star. Pushed her to be a star. And as a result, she became kind of this big in-joke thing in the Tampa Bay area. And later, she became an internet sensation on YouTube. People are trying to find her now, and she has gone underground. She does not want to talk about those days anymore, because evidently she found out, that everybody's making fun of her. and that's a sad thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I, yeah, I came back, and I've always loved art, um, and my love of art was intensified in 2002, the year I met my wife. My mother passed away a month before I met my wife. I like to think my mother had something to do with us coming together. Um, but I took a trip to Europe that summer, that August, and I went to Italy and France, and saw some of the greatest art in the world. And it just kind of like, wow, this is great. This is wonderful. I love this so much. Why haven't I known about this? I mean, really known about this until now. And when you walk through the Louvre, and see all the wonderful, beautiful art there, not just the Mona Lisa, which is what everybody goes to, but all of it, and then you realize that there are galleries all over the world that have collections like that. Maybe not as big, but there are Monets all around the world. There are Renoirs all around the world.
Yeah.
There are Goes all around the world. You just got to go find them, and that's what I decided I wanted to do. So over the past 20 years, 22 years, I've gone to some of the world's greatest museums and seen their collections and photographed them. Actually, I photograph museums that allow it, that let me. I actually photographed half of the Van Gogh Museum until they told me, "Hey, you can't do that."
Oh, goodness.
They almost threw me out.
Oh, no.
And the Frick in New York definitely makes a big deal about you do not photograph anything, because I definitely almost got thrown out when I was trying to do an over the shoulder selfie of me with a Rembrandt.
Oh, no.
The girl came right up to me. I mean, it was the only time they really came right up to me, and she was like really stern, like, "Hey, you can't do that." I was like, "Oh, geez, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get one."
I'll
So,
delete it immediately.
well, no, I didn't. I still have. If anyone wants it, a copy of it, I can send it to you. Again, I was hoping to maybe do a website, about these collections, where you could see them. I don't know. I don't know. Again, I know that I went to the Ringling Museum about 2 weeks ago, and I'm still photographing museums because I just like to do it, and I like to say I've got that collection in my grasp. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of French art, especially the Impressionists. And I started collecting in Shenzhen, where I lived. There is a painting village called Da Fun Painting Village. It's in the Buji district, and there's like 400 different artists and even little mini factories there that recreate art.
Wow.
I mean, some of them are original artists. They do their own original artwork and sell it. But a lot of them make their money just by copying art.
Oh,
And
wow.
some of them are okay, and some of them are really good. And I made friends with some of the guys that were really good. Because, again, I think I have a good eye. I've seen the real ones. So, I mean, I think I have a pretty good eye for good art. And I started collecting back in 2015, almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, and what I was doing was I was showing it to my kids, my English kids. We would talk about art, and I would go, "Okay, I got some canvases I want to show you." And I'd show them the Mona Lisa and some of the others. And then I got the idea, after I collected about 20 or 30 canvases, why don't I create an exhibition of the world's greatest art? Wouldn't that be great to tour it around, so that people who can't see art, can't go to all the museums, can go to one place, and they've got the Mona Lisa and Blue Boy and Whistler's Mother all in the same place.
Yeah.
And that's where the Iconic Art Project was born.
That's so cool.
And I, in a golf bag, I brought over. I had to have some of them sent because they were so big. I couldn't fit them in the golf bag. the canvases. Some of them I had to have, taped up, rolled up, and sent.
Yeah.
The golf bag, I brought about 100 canvases over, and about 20 of them I had to have shipped.
Oh, wow.
Because Gustav Klimt's The Kiss is a humongous painting. It's huge. Um, the Starry, not Starry Night, Night Watch by Rembrandt is a very, very big canvas. Lady Liberty, Leading the People, very big canvas. So again, I had to have these rolled up and taped and shipped. And these guys do it for very cheaply, or they used to. Now everything's getting more expensive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have like 130 canvases now. Almost 40 of them are framed appropriately. I was thinking about moving the camera here so you can see I've got one right next to me here.
Oh.
But you guys have seen pictures on my Facebook. When I get one framed, I usually take a picture with it there at the shop before I bring it home. And I test marketed it this past year in Orlando here, and in Lake City, Florida, my hometown where I grew up. And it was very well received. It was very successful. Didn't make much money off of it, because I said, look, I'll do this for free. I'll let you have this for free because we're just testing it. I ended up making money from Lake City though, because I did shows. I did my Sinatra show and my Roy Orbison show for them. I sold some my books. I've written a couple of novels, and I sold books there. And we had small canvases made, 8x10s, and of the art, and those sold like hotcakes. I had to order more.
Oh,
so
no.
I ended up making a couple of $1,000 on that, even though I didn't charge them for the exhibition.
That's great.
So that helped me to frame some more art. went right back into the hobby.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping this year that I'll actually make some money just renting the exhibition out to people, and then I'll schlep it to wherever it needs to go. And I really would like to find a permanent home for it, though, so I don't have to move it around. Just find someplace that says, hey, we want this art exhibition for our town, for an attraction here. This will get people to come in. And that's my big hope now. Because every time you move it, you take a chance that you're going to damage something. I'm already finding little nicks and little dings in the frames, from when I had the 2 times that I took it out this past year. So, I got to be careful. I have to be really, really careful. And again, I can't monitor it when it's at the location. They have to do that, and I have to really carefully inspect the exhibition when I pull it out to take it back. So this is something I learned.
Yeah, that's what's always scary about, putting your artwork on display or in galleries or whatever. You have to rely upon other people to take good care of it.
Correct. So, yeah, and again, if I'm charging for it, they're going to be like, "Oh, yeah, you would charge me money for it. You can fix it." Well, no, that wasn't the agreement. The agreement was you take responsibility for it when it's in your care.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We'll see how it goes from here.
That's so neat. Like it's so neat that you're doing that. That's wonderful. Like I think that, art should be brought more to the forefront, like in schools, because kids need art. Like we need artwork.
Yeah. We're living in an age now where AI is coming in, and we need to cling to the classic art more than ever now. We can't forget it. Mean, this is our history. Museums are places of history. They're not places of art. They're places of history. That's why some of them are not art museums. They're science museums. They're this museum. They're this museum. It's a place of history.
Yeah.
So, that's one of my selling points is, you need to start busing in kids from schools and stuff and showing them, hey, this is the stuff. This is it. This is the art from our forefathers, that shaped us. This tells a story of their time and their past.
Yeah, like my favorite artist would have to be Leonardo da Vinci, because he was not only an artist but an inventor, and I respect that. Like that's incredible.
In currently in my iconic art project, we have the Vitruvian Man, which was his measurement chart, and it's actually a nod to his maths teacher, Vitruvius. And we also had, and that's the other thing is every piece of art has a great story behind it. Usually, um, I also have a portrait of an old man,
Oh wow.
which he did,
Yeah.
and they for the longest time they thought it was a self portrait, but then historians were like, well, no, he wouldn't have been this old at this time, so this is probably his father or his uncle.
Yeah.
So for the longest time though, they thought it was him, and it's not. And then I have the Mona Lisa. Now, in my possession, not framed yet.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry, and Ginevra da Vinci, which is the only Da Vinci that's in America right now. It's in the Washington, D.C. Museum, the National Gallery in Washington, D.C. But I have all four of his full color female portraits
Oh wow.
that are the surviving four. I
Oh.
have the lady with the ermine, and I have it's just called Portrait of a Lady. Uh, and I actually tried to find that one when I was in Paris, the last time I was in Paris, and unfortunately, it was being loaned out.
Oh.
It wasn't where it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
It was being loaned out to another museum. So, and I missed Whistler's Mother too, which was supposed to be at the Orsay. Which, by the way, I like the Orsay better than I like the Louvre. It is wow. As far as my tastes and my likes, it really is a better art museum. The Orsay is wonderful. They have Olympia there. They have a lot of the French Impressionists. They have Van Gogh's The Bridge, Starry Night with the Bridge.
Oh wow.
They've got a couple of his really good self portraits. That was the thing. I went to the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, and his stuff that's in there is, yeah, they got the sunflowers and they got the potato eaters, but it's like they got the worst self portraits that he ever did of himself.
Oh no.
The best portraits of him in there are by other artists. Yeah, Paul Gauguin's the painter of sunflowers is there, and there was an Australian artist that painted him, which
Yeah.
I have a copy of it hanging right next to my bed here. It's a beautiful portrait of him, and there's also, I don't think it's there, but Toulouse-Lautrec did like a pencil and pastel sketch of him. And I have a copy of that. So I have a lot of the self-portraits or a lot of the portraits of Vincent by other artists, the most notable ones.
Oh wow, that's so neat.
They're not all framed though. but yeah, I tried to think of those kind of things when I was pulling this all together. Okay, well, I've got this one. What would be a good companion piece to this one? Okay, it's easy with Blue Boy. You go with Pinky, which is his companion piece at the Huntington Gallery in California. They've been sitting across the room from each other for decades. And again, even though they're painted by different artists, they look like they were painted, they were painted in the same time in the same style. So they look perfect together. So yeah, I got Pinky. Unfortunately, she's too big for me to frame right now.
No.
It'd be too expensive. I got Blue Boy done. He cost me an arm and a leg. But I want to get Pinky done to go with him. Again, I got the four of the Da Vinci girls, the angels, I call them. And there is a painting that I have that's framed, Napoleon Crossing the Alps by David. And it's very dramatic with him rearing up on his white steed with a red cape flowing in the wind. This is what Napoleon wanted. You can tell. He said, "You got the pretty ladies." But then there's another one done by artist Paul Desroches, which is just as large, and it shows a very cold Napoleon on a donkey going over the mountain. And that's probably what it was really like. So I got those two, and I'm hoping to put them together someday. So,
Yeah, that would be great.
yeah.
Like,
And that's just called Bonaparte crossing the Alps, I think. One of them's Napoleon crossing the Alps, the other's Bonaparte crossing the Alps.
yeah, that's so
But they're
neat.
big pieces.
Yeah, I've been to the St. Louis Art Museum, and they have a few very interesting pieces there. And then I've been to the Chicago Art Museum, and
Chicago's a great museum. It
it
really
is.
is.
It is. That was like the first time that I got to see like some of the greats. And my jaw dropped when I seen Andy Warhol paintings that were there. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, see, I spent so much time photographing the classic art there that I didn't get to see all of the modern art. So I didn't even get to see one of the ones that I used to have, which was Pablo Picasso's Old Man with a Guitar.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have since sold that, and but I need to get a new copy of it because
Yeah.
I wasn't happy with the canvas that I got. It wasn't perfect, and again, I want it to look as real, as perfect as possible.
Yeah.
Gallery quality, they say.
Yeah, most definitely. Like where I work, we have a frame shop and we frame canvases and we do all that stuff. So yeah, I do not blame you on that.
So when I came back to America, the pandemic hit. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was working as a shoe salesman for Dillard's. I had to go back to my roots, sales, and got laid off. I started to paint again after 35 years. I picked up brushes and oils again, started painting myself after 35 years. My daughter, in her room, watching all the negative media, went through a depression phase. She's now suffering from social anxiety and depression because of what happened then. She's much better now. She's doing much better. It was a strange time. And a friend of mine from high school, John Bird, said, I think you would like this girl, Renee Jaworski. You got to meet her. That's a pretty good impression of John Bird, actually. So I introduced myself. And I basically said, look, I'm an entertainer. I did comedy. I do voices. She goes, oh, I got to introduce you to Dennis Tardon. And she introduced me to Dennis Tardon, and they had come up with a plan for me to come on and start doing some of my voices and characters on his show, Tardon Tonight, Not Quite. Wow. And as you know, the rest was history. We gravitated to what was the B the B network or whatever it was. And we all hated that name. We all complained about it. It was like, well, let's call it Cosmos.
Cosmos, yes.
Cosmos Creative. Because we wanted more creativity in our own work. We wanted more creativity in what we did. Yeah. And that should be a given. When you're creating something, when you're making something, you want your own creative control. And so we brought back It's Casual from the 80s, 90s. And we've done over 100 shows on that. I finally got to do Big Monster Briefing Room. Our first show was Day of the Triffids, which I think we did like a 25-minute show. and now it's hard to keep under an hour, Yeah. And we've done like 115 shows on Big Monster Briefing Room because I just love that one so much. And I really know what the fan base is out there. And I know once it latches hold, once it finds Big Monster Briefing Room, that it's going to be, we already have one video of our King Kong versus Godzilla episode has hit over 5,000 viewers.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's wonderful.
Yeah. So I know what it is. It's just people searching King Kong versus, oh, this is a review show of that? Oh, let me take a look. And then they see that it's slides and not the movie. Like, oh, man. They probably leave. But I got my 5,000. I don't care.
At least it got viewed.
So, yeah, I'm having so much fun doing those. I'll do 2 of them in a week if I don't have any guests for It's Casual. I'm doing like 6, 7 shows a week now. We're doing 2 with Carrie Harrison, who's one of those guys that used to call up my show and harass me doing voices. He still lives in Tampa, but he does LA radio. He does a live uplink to LA radio every week, and now we're doing a show with him on Monday. Manny Zamora, I met him through Dennis Tardon and Renee, and my heart went out to him when he lost his beloved.
Yeah.
And I said, well, why don't you create a character? Why don't you come on Big Monster Briefing Room? And we're doing he liked the show. We'd already talked about the show a couple of times before I made the offer. Yeah. And he came up with Sergeant Havoc. And we had such a great time. I think it was The Food of the Gods was the episode we were doing, which was kind of a stinker 1970s H.G. Wells shtick. And he was so good that we decided to bring him on at least once a month. And this past month, I said, let's make you full-time. Let's go ahead and make you full-time. We're full-time when we do the 2 guys and a gal talking movies together. Let's make Big Monster Briefing Room full-time for you. And and so he's a full-timer now. So
I was like working with him. he's a lot
of fun. He's a very talented guy himself. You know, if you haven't seen any of his comic books, he's a very talented artist. And we made a joke about Renee, you know, wanting to be with Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster, and man, he whips out like 2 pages of comic book and shares it with us, and they're like, "Oh my dude, this is awesome!"
Yeah.
So we're so happy to have him aboard.
Yeah, I need to have you and him on my Belongs to the Shadows whenever that comes back.
Okay.
At some point, like I think that would be really cool to have you both on there because, you know.
Well, I write about vampires, so if you ever do a vampire show,
do another vampire.
Working on the sequel to the Vampire Irregulars, and it has a story in it called The Trial of the Werewolf.
Wow.
Vampires and werewolves have to work together, and also the tale of the Chinese blood sirens. So you know, write what you know. So I took it to historic China and created a story of these blood sirens being unearthed, unfortunately, at the time where they're going through the big push forward where people are already dying from hunger and starvation. So the problem is the book is too short still. I have to write another story to pad it out. So it's 175 pages now.
Oh, wow.
But publisher's very pleased with what he's read so far.
Yeah, I'll have to do an episode about vampires. Not that I'm trying to plug my show. I don't want to plug my shows on your episode, but like I think the first episode coming back with Belongs to the Shadows, I'm going to be talking about Mad Hatters and how they earned that title. Hatters. Yes.
Well, since we're plugging shows, I feel I have to point out that I'm also a co-host on No Icing on Thursday evenings. Big Monster Briefing Room. That's Sandy D's show.
Yes, most definitely. She does.
And improv night at Saturday at 6 normally with Panorea, and Manny's usually there.
Yeah.
And some of our other friends, CJ is usually there. CJ Sunshine.
He always fun, that's for sure.
Renee's usually there, so so we have a lot of fun improvising on that.
A group of a bunch of great people. Like there's so many good shows on Cosmos Creative Television. I haven't been on there for a while because I have been busy with my day job.
It's hard to juggle, a half a dozen shows when you're trying to be a father or a mother.
Yes.
And you got family, you got work to do, and responsibilities for work. It's not easy. It isn't. That's a lot to juggle. So usually, what happens is you don't sleep.
Yeah.
Like MM Farwell and Renee and I get about 6 hours of sleep.
Pretty much. Like my schedule is insane. I go in, like, I never know if I'm going in for truck at 12 midnight or if I'm going in at 7 in the morning, because like we never know when the truck's gonna get there and if anybody's gonna unload it. It's just like, so no sleep.
So I guess you just sleep a little bit when you're waiting for the truck.
I get a nap, baby. Baby, if I'm lucky, I'll get a nap.
Phone alarm.
Uh-oh.
So the other thing is Carrie Harrison. The shows. Hopefully, I'll be doing more of my characters for the LA audience
Yeah.
through Carrie Harrison shows. We just tried out Frog on his radio show Friday, and immediately started getting calls from people or responses from people saying, was that guy for real? You need to tell that guy, blah 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 blah, whatever it was. He was wrong about. I was making some joke about something, and it was a wrong fact. I mean, it was just something that was wrong.
Yeah.
And they pointed it out. So I'm like, oh, that is so cool that we actually got people complaining about him already.
Reviews. Reviews of any sort, I guess, are good.
No such thing as bad press.
No.
If you caught somebody's ear, that's all that matters.
Yes. That's the way I figure it.
So I'm
Like,
looking forward to a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. I've seen, I think I've seen 1.5 of his episodes. Like, I've tried to tune in when I'm not busy. But he's really great host. I like
He's
watching him.
host. He's very charming, and he's incredibly intelligent, which is very intimidating for people that work with him, because we got to try to keep up with him. But he's just so damn intelligent. This was very intimidating to me when I was on the show host in Tampa back in '89. But he's very nice and very welcoming. Again, at that time, he had invited me to a party at his house. He invited me onto a radio station where we did improv. But again, I was very kind of intimidated by how intelligent he is. I mean, I like to think of myself as being a well-read person, a worldly person. But man, he's just like, IQ is way up there. He's just very,
I get that.
very sharp.
I get that way sometimes with certain people. I'm like, oh no. oh no.
Oh gosh, can I keep up with this? Can I keep up with this?
I feel like a deer in the headlights sometimes. I'm like, okay, well, we're just gonna go with it.
I think it was Brian Regan who does the bit about going to parties and then you say something but you want to pull it back into your mouth. No.
Exactly.
I like Gar. No, don't tell them that.
Yep. I've been there.
That's how we feel sometimes. It's true.
I've been there, and I feel like the older I get, the more I am like a deer in the headlights about some things. I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about anymore.
Well, yeah.
Pretty much.
What else can you do?
Like I'm good. I'll just go with the flow.
What he said. But yeah, I'm doing the best I can just to be entertaining. That's my thing. I just want to make people happy. I want to make people smile. There's not enough of that today, as far as I'm concerned, and there needs to be.
Yeah, and like I told my last guest on this show, I said, just because it's a docuseries doesn't mean that it has to be like deep topics and like traumatic or serious. We can talk about lighter topics. Like it doesn't have to be heavy all the time.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah, you just straightforward said you wanted to interview me, so yeah, I just figured I'd roll with it and tell you whatever stories I could to tell you kind of what shaped me into where I am now.
Yeah, like I never knew that about like Renee and Dennis. Like I knew, obviously you all had met at some point, but I didn't know how long.
That's how it all started. Yeah.
before I
And
came
I
into
was
the
just telling
picture.
Mandy the other day, I have not heard from Dennis in the longest time. I should reach out to him. I should say, hey, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a while. I was watching his 1 minute videos that he was doing on TikTok.
Yeah.
Those were good. And they say he's still doing his interview show,
Mhm.
but I'm not seeing any links or anything to it. So I'm gonna have to put the branch back out and say, hey, what's going on? How are you? I haven't heard from you in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, Dennis is he's a very interesting individual. Like he's been at this for quite a while, and nothing but respect for him and respect for you and Renee, like everybody. Like, it's an incredible group of people that I have stumbled into.
I saw some early stuff that he had done at Texas, working for the news station he was working for. Um, and again, very reminiscent of the stuff that I was doing around the same time in Tampa.
Yeah.
Again, I saw a lot of similarities there. He was trying to do the kind of the same thing, I think, that I was trying to do. And again, like you said, very entertaining, very innovative. They didn't get it there, unfortunately for him. He didn't.
Oh.
He didn't get the response that he had hoped for. There.
Oh no.
I wish I could still find some of that stuff that I was doing. We were doing sketches for the Comedy Corner. We called ourselves the Comedy Corner Players, and I did a sketch where I played Belushi in hell.
Oh,
Uh, and,
that's interesting.
and yeah, and I was doing some other voices, and we did a Ralph Cramden, Ed Norton thing, and the only thing I was able to get from that time was a sketch called Fat Man, which we shot live at the Comedy Corner on stage in front of a live audience, and I was able to get a copy of that, and I still have that, and I cherish that because that's what I have to remember that time with those people, you know. And it's on YouTube somewhere on my channel somewhere. You can find it. Fat Man.
I
And it's me
will put a
but
link.
50 pounds heavier.
That's cool. I will put a link to to Cosmos and we'll upload this on Cosmos, but I'll put a link to all your shows in the description whenever I release this episode.
Appreciate it.
So, is there any advice that you have for people who want to get into voice acting, get into acting, or any advice that you have for people who are getting into that?
As Disney said, just keep moving forward. Don't let your self doubt. Don't let people talk you out of it.
Yeah.
Just keep moving forward. That's the best that I can, and do it with what you've got if you have to. You don't have to have a big studio or a big budget to create. This I've proven this, time and time again with what I've created here for Cosmos.
Yeah.
I sometimes, I just think, wow, you've created 115 episodes of a show that's on social media, it can be seen by the world, and all you spent was just a few dollars on costume pieces, basically, and time. I put a lot of time into Big Monster Briefing Room because every movie has to be screenshot and turned into a PowerPoint presentation. That's me. I got to do that. So yeah, if you add up all the hours that I spent in front of the computer for this, man, am I owed a lot. But but again, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, it's a great looking show.
Mhm.
We have fun. You can tell we have fun doing it. I love to call ourselves our group the Cliff Notes of horror and sci-fi. Because if you want to get a quick 1 hour synopsis of a movie, and see everything in the movie, we've got it. We've got it. We're here. And again, we did that on nothing. No. I mean, it's just time. The time we put into it. Renee and Manny and myself. Yeah, we're owed, but who knows? Somebody might buy it someday. Who knows?
You never know. You never know. Netflix can.
For some reason it takes off, and starts getting hits. Somebody might buy it.
Yeah, there you go. Most
Okay, take it off of
definitely.
YouTube. Make it ours. Let's sell it.
Yep. Oh, hopefully that'll happen someday. Like, it could. Uh, well,
Hopefully before I die.
I will most definitely put the links to your shows and everything in the description when I release this. I thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You've had a very interesting
Your
life
shows?
journey.
Yeah.
And well, to the audience, until next time, love, hugs, and blessings. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, Rory, for being here.